Even though I see a lot of familiar faces, I know it's a temptation whenever you don't know the priest to sit there and wonder who he is. And so that you're not thinking of that the whole time I'm preaching, maybe you'll think of something else, but so that you're not thinking of that, I'm Father Broussard. I'm the vocation director for the Diocese of Lafayette. And so I'm in charge of going out, promoting vocations to the priesthood and the religious life, and then speaking to young men and women who might feel that God is calling them to one of those vocations. So you know a little bit about me, but you need to know one more thing in order for me to give this homily. You need to know how my mind works, when it works. It doesn't work all the time, but when it does work, I constantly, as people are talking to me, or I'm just, wandering around in my own life, I'm constantly relating what people are saying or what's going on around me to either a funny movie that I've seen or a song that I like. I always relate things to those two genres. And I don't even have to do it on purpose. It just happens. And so, as I was reading the Gospel this week to prepare for this homily, I immediately thought of Fleetwood Mac. I know you've all had this experience, right? You read the Gospel and you think of Fleetwood Mac. But I thought of the song, You Can Go Your Own Way. Right? Because of the end of the Gospel, there's this great interaction between Jesus and Bartimaeus, right? The blind man. And Jesus tells him to go his way, right? Go your way. Your faith has saved you. And then the next line says, immediately he received his sight and followed him on the way. So Jesus told him, go your way. And then it says that he followed him on the way. May seem insignificant at first, but hopefully it doesn't by the end of the homily. Right? He followed Jesus on the way. Jesus himself is the way. Right? He followed Jesus. He followed him. Jesus' way became his way. Jesus himself became his way. Now, I think this tells us something about a reality in our spiritual life. And it's a reality that I've experienced myself. When I first heard what now I know was a calling to the priesthood, I was annoyed. Right? I was angry. I was upset with God. Because I had my way. Right? I was finishing college. I was going to go on to grad school. I was going to get married. I was going to have kids. I was going to have a great life. And then God had the audacity to place this call in me, or to allow me to recognize this call that was already in me. And so I had this sort of false idea that there were these two ways. Right? There was my way, that would be great and lead to happiness and be fun. And then there was God's way, which was going to be boring, which was going to be hard, which was not going to be any fun. And so I sort of set up this false notion that there were two ways, that they were separate, that one was fun and one was not. But luckily, I had people in my life that could work with me. And so after years of prayer and struggle and conversations with friends and family and priests, I came to realize that I was wrong. It was the only time in my life I was wrong. But I came to realize that there were these two ways, right? There was my way and there was God's way. But for me to be truly happy, for any of us to be truly happy, those two ways have to come together. Right? Just like that blind man, God's way, Jesus' way, has to become my way. He has to become my way. And so once I figured this out, I started to sort of give in to that calling. And I realized that God, not only could He make me happy, but that's why He made me. Right? He was calling me to be a priest because He created me. He created me to be a priest. And he knew that that is what is going to make me happy. And so he was calling me, inviting me to do this in order to be happy. Imagine God wanting us to be happy. Now, this, I think, relates to our natural life. Right? Our parents, shockingly enough, usually know better than we do when we're young children. Right? They know better. Kids usually don't like the rules that their parents make. Right? Mom and dad just want to keep me from having fun. Right? They want to tell me not to do all the things that seem fun. They want to tell me to do all the things that don't seem fun. And they're just doing it because they're awful, horrible people and don't want me to enjoy life. Right? A bunch of smiles here in the front row. But really, what's happening is that we are so focused on right now. Right? I want to do what is fun right now. It's going to give me some instant gratification. But our parents, thankfully, have a wider vision. Right? They see the bigger picture. They want us to be happy. Sure, they want us to be happy now, but they want us to be happy in the long run. And so they put these rules in place to keep us from doing things that they know are not good for us, so that we can be happy. Right? So that we can be happy in the long run. And so if God is our Father, right, He does the same thing on a grander scale. Right? He gives us these rules. He tells us we can't do certain things. He tells us we should do certain things. Not because He's overbearing and wants to make our life miserable, but because He knows what's good for us. And He wants to guide us on that path to life, that path to true happiness. And so I think that this is a big part of my work as vocation director. Right? Speaking to young men and women who are thinking that maybe God's calling them, to help them to realize this, right? That if God is calling them, if God is calling you to one of these vocations, right, to the priesthood, or the religious life, or the consecrated life, it's not a death sentence. Right? If you are truly called to it, responding to it is going to make you happy. Right? It's going to make you happy. Doing God's will is satisfying. Right? It brings us joy. Living a good moral life makes us happy. It's amazing. It's like He knows what He's doing. Right? He's guiding us to that ultimate happiness that we're all seeking. And so we pray today, right, that we can be like that blind man Bartimaeus. Right, that we can call out to Jesus, that we can seek Him out, and that when He tells us to go on our way, that we would recognize that the only way that we should want, the only way that is truly going to make us happy, is His way. Right, is the way, is Jesus Christ Himself.